As soon as he started removing the scalpel, a whole bunch of blood just started gushing out. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about my rare skin condition called progressive macular hypomelanosis. I wanted to share my experience with you guys because maybe someone out there is probably going through the same thing that I went through. So I am going to be talking about my experience with this skin condition, how the dermatologists were able to diagnose it, and all of the treatments that I had to go through to get rid of it. But before we begin, if you guys aren't already subscribed, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. So this all started in 2015. I started noticing some white spots appearing on my stomach. I didn't think anything about it for about a year and a half, until about 2016 my mom decided to take me to the doctors to get a checkup. I was explaining to her that it all started in 2015. I had some white spots appearing on my stomach. By this time the hyperpigmentation was spreading on the midline of my stomach and it was getting worse as time went by. So her response was, oh, it's perfectly normal, it's just hyperpigmentation, everybody has it. Look, I have some right here on my neck, it's nothing serious, you don't have to worry about it. So I'm over here thinking like, oh, she's a doctor, she knows what she's talking about, I'm just gonna leave it as it is. So I told my mom the doctor's response. She agreed, she's a doctor, she knows what she's talking about. As time went by, it did start getting a lot worse. The white spots were starting to spread towards my back. As I kept searching through Google, I self-diagnosed myself with tinea versicolor. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly. So I started going online and I started looking up some home remedies. This home remedy was basically half a cup of water and half a cup of apple cider vinegar. People would put this on their stomach about 2 times a day. After a couple of months, it finally went away. So I decided to try it out. So I was putting apple cider vinegar on my stomach 2 times a day for about, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, and I didn't see any type of improvement whatsoever. The first few years I didn't do anything about it. I didn't care about these white spots. By 2017 I was just tired of it. I wanted to get rid of it. I didn't even remember how my stomach looked like before these white spots started appearing. So in 2017 I finally decided to pick up the phone and I called the dermatologist. I finally booked an appointment. After a couple of hours of waiting inside the waiting room, and the dermatologist asked me why I was here, what was going on. So I explained to him that I had these white spots appearing on my stomach in 2014, 2015. It was just a little bit of white spots, nothing serious. And then as time went by, it slowly started getting worse. It did spread towards the midline of my stomach. By this time I already had it on my back. So I went ahead, I lifted up my shirt and I showed him my stomach. I can tell by his face that he wasn't sure what it was. So he had to step out and he had to grab his supervisor to come in and get a second opinion to see what it was. So a second dermatologist came into the room and I showed him my stomach, I showed him my back, and you can tell by his face that he was a little confused, but he did say that he had an idea of what it was, but he has never ever seen it before. So he told me that he had to do 2 different types of tests. One of them was obviously a biopsy and the other one was a Woods like lamp. He stepped out again, he came in and he asked me, is it fine if I have a couple of my colleagues come in so then that way they can see what we're dealing with? And I told him like, yeah, it's fine. He starts telling everybody to come in. As soon as everybody already came in, there was already 6 dermatologists inside the room trying to figure out what I had. After they finished examining me, the supervisor started speaking to the rest of the dermatologists and he was also speaking to me. He had an idea of what it was, but had to do a biopsy to confirm that it was the skin condition that he thought it was. He explained to his colleagues that it might have been progressive macular hypomelanosis. I was actually their first case. So I was the first person with this skin condition. They weren't sure what the treatments were going to be and how long it was going to take to get rid of it. He stepped out and he came back in with something called wood light. So they turned off all of the lights in the room and it was pitch black. They took the woods light and they put it near my stomach and they turned on the lights. After all of that happened, everybody left the room. That one dermatologist that I first saw, he explained to me that we were gonna do a biopsy so they can send it out to the lab. I sat on the patient chair. I was just sitting, laying back on the chair, and he told me to lift up my shirt. He injected a liquid anesthetic so then that way I wouldn't feel the biopsy. So after the injection, he grabbed a circular scalpel and he put it on my stomach about this big, and then he started pushing and turning until the whole blade went inside my stomach. As soon as he started removing the scalpel, a whole bunch of blood just started gushing out. When he took the skin biopsy, it was about this big. Half of it was my actual skin and the other half was just basically fat. The fat was very yellow, which was very cool. After he removed it, he quickly grabbed a gauze and then he put it on my stomach and he asked me to hold on to the gauze and just put pressure on it. I had blood all over my hands and blood was all over my stomach. After he put the biopsy in a solution in a little small container and he asked me to remove my hand, so he did do about 3 stitches to close up the little hole. After a couple of months, I came back again to get my results. It was progressive macular hypermelanosis. Apparently the skin condition is common in tropical regions and it's also common in patients with darker skin. They were going to give me multiple treatments to see what would help until they were finally able to get rid of it. From what the dermatologist told me and from what I was searching up on the website, apparently the acne is called Propionibacterium acnes, which is found on the follicles of the hair, which basically means that this hypopigmentation is related to the acne. He prescribed me some pills. I was taking these pills 2 to 3 times a day for about 2 months. I was very consistent with it. I was making sure I was taking it every single day. I finally went back to the dermatologist again. They examined me. They noticed that it wasn't getting any better at all and they prescribed me a stronger dose of acne pills. I started taking these pills 2 times a day, I think for about another 2 months. So I went back to the dermatologist and they noticed that it wasn't getting better and then they decided to go ahead and just prescribe me some ointments. The lotion that they prescribed me is called clindamycin lotion and they also prescribed me benzoyl peroxide. So apparently benzoyl peroxide is really good for acne and it's an over-the-counter type of lotion. The clindamycin lotion, I had to apply it on my stomach 2 times a day, and the benzoyl peroxide, I had to apply that once a day every night. I started applying these 2 lotions almost every day. I was doing this for about another 2 to 3 months. To be completely honest, I wasn't very consistent with the lotions. I was doing very well the first couple of weeks and then as time went by, I just got tired of doing it every day. So then I started doing it at least once a day until eventually I was only doing it about two times a week. I went back to the dermatologist. They examined me once again. The final treatment that they offered me was called UVA irradiation. It's basically like a tanning booth. Instead of you like laying down, you're just standing up. I was very consistent about the photo light therapy. After a couple of weeks, I did start noticing that the light therapy was helping with my hypopigmentation. After a couple of weeks of doing this light therapy, I started noticing that my pigmentation was getting a lot better. About a month or 2 months, the white spots was pretty much just gone. 3 months already passed by and I went to the dermatologist and finally it was my last appointment. They noticed that it was a huge improvement. It was literally to the point where I had no type of white spots whatsoever on my stomach or on my back. Everything was successful. They started asking me questions. How often were you putting on the lotion? How often were you going to light therapy? Kind of lied to them saying that I was putting on the lotion 2 times a week, but by this time I wasn't putting the lotion at all. I completely gave up on the lotion and I was just doing the light therapy because I noticed that the light therapy was really helping me. He went ahead and he put it on the computer and he was basically putting that like the light therapy was successful alongside with the lotion. After I left the dermatologist, I was so freaking happy. I think it took about a year until finally my stomach was finally back to normal. I was finally able to go to the beach and wear a 2-piece and not having to worry about everybody staring at my stomach because of all of these white spots that were very visible. No matter how many times I would go tanning, the hypopigmentation was always lighter than my skin color. I no longer have any hypopigmentation on my stomach. I probably have like maybe 3 little spots on my stomach, but it's nothing serious. So that is my story. I also wanted to mention in this video that I have to go back to the dermatologist again because I have another skin condition that came back again. I'm just gonna give you guys a little background story about this other skin condition that I have. I think I was about 10-11 years old. I started noticing a big dry patch on my hand. It was like about this big. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that, but like some discoloration like right here. My skin was very dry. I went to the doctors about this because I had it for I think about 4 months and it would not go away. When I went to the dermatologist, they prescribed me an ointment. I was using it for a couple of months and I went back again for a checkup. Noticed that it didn't get any better. They prescribed me another ointment. I think after the first month I started noticing a huge improvement. It was no longer dry and it was getting so much more smaller, and after that it was gone. Going back to now, I started noticing a dry patch on my finger, which is very similar to what I used to have back then on my hand. It's right over here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It doesn't look as bad now because I put some lotion from here up to here. When I don't have any lotion on it, it's super dry. When I put any heat on it or when I don't have any lotion on it, it gets very irritating to the point that it kind of burns. And I think I had it for about a month, 2 months now. So I need to go back to the dermatologist for them to prescribe me an ointment to get rid of it. Fortunately, I'm having difficulty getting health insurance in order for me to go to the dermatologist. They don't take into consideration all of the bills that we have to pay for rent, light bills, phone bills. So technically we do not have enough money to really afford health insurance. It's really been bothering me. It's super freaking dry. It's very irritating and it burns. Once again, I have another skin condition. My family is just full of a lot of health problems. So that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I'm hoping that most of you guys found it at least educational, if not helpful. So I just wanted to share this video with you guys so then that way I can spread more awareness about this uncommon skin condition. And I know that someone out there might be going through YouTube, might be going through Google, trying to find out what they have. The exact same thing that I did. And once again, if you guys aren't already subscribed, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.